I hope we are working. I'm going to log into the other computer just to check to see that the stream is up. And then once we check to make sure the stream is up and running, we're going to go ahead and jump into tearing down that computer and getting it ready to update. We're updating the processor. Let's throw out 64 gig of memory into it. And even though I've already replaced the video card that's in the unit, we're going to go ahead and show you how the process is for replacing the unit. Again, I'm running a Trident 3 by MSI. I've had them for years. I love the small form factor. They're really great computers, but they need a little bit of hardware updating, at least for the one that's over here. This one's running a 10th generation Core i5. We're going to update it to a 10th generation Core i7 without the onboard video processor, so we can maximize the capability of the CPU and CPU only, because we're running a RTX 3060 in there for our work. So anyway, jump over here just to check, and so I see that I'm live right now. And so we're gonna check the stream. And I do sound a little far away, but it is working. So okay. So what I might do is I might do some like adjusting on this so I can get my like actual microphone hooked up for my wireless one to get the audio quality and everything. We'll check that real quick. And so the laptop I'm running this on is almost a, oh gosh, a over 10-year-old laptop. It's an old Dell XPS running a Core i7 third generation, and it's old, but it's still working. And I use that kind of on the go as needed. The keyboards failed on it, the touchpads failed on it, but it still is alive and kicking. But it is, again, a 10-year-old laptop that I keep crushing things on. So I might do one more thing, which is going to be bringing my Shure wireless microphone over here just to get better microphone content. Not that I don't trust the microphone that's built into the computer here, but I want to get the best audio kind of quality moving forward as we get into breaking down the unit. And it's also the first time that I'm using one of my GoPros in webcam mode, and it's like right there, and yeah, with the GoPro in webcam mode. And I might play around with those settings later, because I do want to adjust how I'm doing my video content here on the channel. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good tech deep dive today, getting into updating the processor, updating the video card, even though the video card's already installed, but going through and showing the process of it, and then updating the memory up to 64 gig. And this all stemmed from working a couple of jobs, doing some heavy video, or not video, but heavy 3D modeling, and just the computer just chugging right along, because it's crushing through millions of triangles. And so 64 gig of memory is going to be the biggest update. The Core i7 is going to be another improvement on it, and then hopefully we don't brick the Trident 3 over there. So I'm going to go ahead and shut that system down, and then we're going to bring it over here to the workbench, and we're going to start getting into breakdown. After I change my microphone, I get the microphone set up and test the microphone, that is. So here is my Shure wireless mic, and again, a huge thanks to Jay. Jay has been instrumental in getting me up and running. And hopefully as I plug these things in, we're not going to cause the computer to freak out and have a hiccup. Alright, so first test did not work, so we're going to have to go ahead and plug it back in real quick. Okay, so doesn't look like I'll be able to use my wireless microphone for this one. Doesn't look like I'll be able to use my wireless microphone for this one. But that's okay. The audio coming through the laptop here should be fine. It doesn't sound too bad, so we'll just go ahead and run with it. The audio coming through the laptop here should be fine. It doesn't sound too bad, so we'll just go ahead and run with it. shut this computer down. And now that the unit's powered off, we're going to start breaking everything down on it and get everything ready to start transitioning over to here on the workbench. We're going to start doing teardown. Alright, so here we have our MSI Trident 3, and I picked this one up off of eBay. This ended up being, it was listed as a 7th generation Core i7, and it turned out to be that it was a 10th generation Core i7 unit, so I'm really happy about that because it is running the LGA 1200 socket for the CPU, which means I can grab this little guy and upgrade the processor up to the Core i7 10700F. And the reason why I went with the i7 10700F is the min power draw. And so the i7 10700F has a max draw of 65 watts. And because I'm running like the 240, I think it's 240 volt power supply, I wanted to make sure that I'm keeping as much voltage available for the rest of the processes within the computer without capping out the power supply. And so the MSI small form factor computers are really great. It's like we had 2 of them that we lost during a flood, unfortunately. But the good news story out of that is we were able to replace those ones with 2 newer Trident 3s of a much higher rating. And so for the teardown on this, we're gonna this panel, so if I have the MSI label kind of facing me, the panel on the right, this one just pops off, and once it pops off, that accesses where the screws are at. Come on, there we go. Pop that off, set that aside, and then here we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove a few different screws in order to open access to the case. Let's remember to not block the camera with my head. We're going to pull the top off, and so we're going to slide that down, and that's going to remove the top. And then we have exposed is our graphics card. That's not good. So you may have to postpone this because I thought it was running the full-size SO-DIMMs versus the micro-DIMMs. That's terrible. I know on my previous Trident 3s that were running the large ones, so I might save these ones for the computers upstairs. So that puts a hamper on tonight's video. But what we can do is we can showcase, how to replace the video card on it, and we might upgrade the processor tonight just to get that done and out of the way, so I don't have to do it next time. But the memory is really easy. It's just going to be these 2 switches to unlock the memory. The memory pops right out, and so these are going to be. Take a couple pictures of these real quick. I might take the memory that I have here and put it in my computer upstairs. Because right now I'm only running 16 gig of memory, which is kind of one of my limiting factors for this computer. So that I might save these to drop them in one of my other computers that I have sitting around the house that I haven't done too much with. But yeah, neither here nor there. We'll kind of get after it. So anyway, for the processor upgrade, we're going to go ahead and pull out. Let's see the case side. That's the bracket cover. Got my bracket cover. This just manages airflow between two different sections. It manages airflow for the actual video card, and it manages airflow for the cooling unit for the processor itself. Remove the cooling fan. Pop that cooling fan off. Disconnect the fan, power cable. Now we're going to remove the heatsink, which is rather toasty at the moment, but hey, that's fine. It's rather toasty here in the garage. Once I have those two anchoring brackets down back here removed, I'm going to go ahead and remove the remainder of the heatsink. I'm going to have to pull out my thermal paste here in a little bit. Thermal paste is important. Get that heat transfer. And we're going to very gingerly remove the heatsink and the radiator assembly. Alright. Now we have the radiator assembly removed. Set the positioning of that little band bracket. And set some insulating tape to make sure the airflow is going through. So from here what we're going to do is I want to go ahead and clean off the top of the CPU. I'm going to have to go find some new memory. And so this is in fact a Core i5-10400F, and so we were good. Pop this walking bracket arm out. So be very careful when you're doing this so you don't damage the main board. Put that arm out. Right. And so there's going to be the lock. I'll flip that over. It is still pretty warm. And we're going to go ahead and remove that Core i5 10400F. Let's get some glare off of it. There we go. That's a Core i5-10400F. .99. And we're going to start unboxing our Core i7-10700F. And so this one is still factory sealed from Intel, or so it appears to be factory sealed from Intel. You can see up top, Core i7, lighting, there we go, Core i7-10700F. So this one did come with a factory heatsink, but I'm not too worried about the factory heatsink right now because this is a proprietary heating and cooling system for the MSI Trident 3. But we're probably going to save this heatsink, and I'll probably use it in one of the other computers that I have around the house. That thing looks brutal. Open architecture like that. Get that thing spinning. Alright. I'm going to unbox this the remainder of the way. Take a look at the chip architecture behind and underneath. That looks good. Taking a quick look at the pin in, pin out. Now, there are two little notched grooves. One notch is right here, one notch is right here. So the processor can only go in one way, because if you look at the actual LGA 1200 socket, there's the notch there and the notch there. So you cannot invert the processor for an installation. It won't go in. I'm going to go ahead and set that in. Drop the locking cover back down on it. And there, now we're locked into place. So now we're going to grab some paste after we go ahead and clean up the factory heatsink that was provided. And so as you can see, it's like this one has had some significant wear on the thermal paste that was provided from the manufacturer. It's old, it's dilapidated, so we're going to clean some of this off. We're actually going to put brand new thermal paste down. And completely clean this off. And then is. So we're going to touch it, grab it, and then we're going to ground ourselves out. Alright. So for the video card, and we'll get into that in a second. So I installed a 3060 Aero or an XLR8, and so there was a couple different video cards that would work for the 3060 in this computer, but I wanted for one that, as you can see, the small form factor, it had to be one of the extreme low profile, extreme shortened video cards on the market. In case this processor is no bueno. Alright. Thermal paste. Thermal paste. Where are you? I do have some thermal paste from bamboo that I could maybe use, but there it is. Alright. Gosh, this thermal paste is so old. But it's good. And so this is silver thermal paste compound. I've had this tube for, oh gosh, I don't know, like 2 decades. And it's proven me well so far. I'm going to put a liberal blob on there. Retract that a little bit. But you know, even though this computer is pretty darn old, and that thermal paste is pretty old, move around with it. So we just need to create a thermal bond between the heatsink and the processor. I love it when I lose my brain. I set things down and I'm like, oh man, where did I put it? I think grabbing a fresh. So there's a lot of people that are out there that are kind of like skittish about running like computer upgrades, and I mean, the way that I look at it is computer upgrades have to happen, technology improves. I'm running these older computers because I know they work and I know that they're going to serve my purpose for what I am after. And so we're just adding a little thermal compound onto the actual heatsink itself. So we have a 2-part bond between the processor and the heatsink. start crushing up millions of triangles. I'm going to make sure we have that good thermal bond. Alright, so now that we've got fresh thermal paste here, we've got fresh thermal paste there. I'm going to very gingerly drop the heat sink back into its position. And we're going to start anchoring it down. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down until I get some bite on all four of the corners. Check, make sure the memory is reseated. Okay. And go ahead and this one could be cleaned out a little bit, so we're gonna blast out some air real quick. I should have cleaned that out before I put the unit back together, but here we are. I'm going to drop that cable underneath. I'm going to connect the fan back up. And we're going to reverse the process. Go with the low profiles here. Go ahead and remount our fan. Oh, why did you do that? Good old magnetic screwdrivers here. And we have the fan remounted. We're going to go to our shroud. Let's come back up, so that's going on to the shroud. And our second one. So there is our heat shroud back into place. And what we're going to talk about is the graphics card. So the graphics card was a little bit more nuanced getting this one installed and before we button the case back up. But there's two screws, one here. So one is right here. And this is a locking bracket for the video card, and that swing gate opens up. And so routing the power cable was probably the most tricky part. And so the power cable that goes over here to the ancillary power supply that comes up to the top of the graphics card, I had to route that one down, underneath, and over, and then in, versus the original MSI Aero 1650 card. So here's the original 1650 card. And there's the power supply adapter. That goes to the main board for auxiliary power. And so the unit had to be removing this power cable, popping that up, sliding the unit up, rotating the unit out and dropping it up, and then getting it back into the service. And so we probably won't do a full video card teardown and removal. And once this bracket is opened up, then what we would do is we would go ahead and remove it from the docking station or the PCI Express card slot. We would disconnect the power cable and we'd rotate the unit up and pull the unit out. And so not too terribly difficult, but getting everything to align in such a tight fit case is not difficult, but it's more nuanced. There is a bracket that holds the video card into place, and so I just dislodged that, unfortunately. But the bracket's there to help maintain pressure and the weight of the video card because it's slotted in a horizontal fashion to the chassis. Because it's like you can stand these units upright, but you want them to lock into place. And so we're going to go ahead and lock this one back down. I'm going to actually move it to see if I can get that card. There we go. Let's actually take that out. Here, lock this back into place. Screw. All right. that's that set. Now we're going to go ahead and grab our top cover. And drop our top cover back on. And the top covers are literally just going to slide into place. Once we have that locked, there are 2 top cover screws. There's one. Number 2, and now we're going to put our bracket back over the top. And we're going to get ready to go ahead and fire the unit up. And there, we have successfully just swapped out the processor on the unit. Unfortunately, not able to do the memory upgrade today, which would have been the best update for the computer, but that's okay. Got this 1650 Super. Actually, do an anti-static bag. If anybody wants a 1650 Super, I've got an MSI Aero 1650 Super sitting right here on my workbench on my desktop, and I'm doing nothing with right now. All right, let's go ahead and get this back over to the workstation, and we're going to check it, test it, and get it fired back up. No errors. Hopefully no errors. We'll see. It. And lastly, we're going to hit power. There we go. back into Windows at least, so CPU Z real quick. That's our inside CPU Z. I'm showing that we are now up and running on a Core i7-10700F. And so we're going to go ahead and stop the stream here. I'm going to transition over to the stream over there. So we will catch you guys back here in just a minute.